Every day I see you is a fine day.
That's a wrap on the 2025 college football season. Indiana from Bloomington is the national champion after a 27-21 victory over Miami. Fernando Mendoza, what an unbelievable season he's had. Heisman Trophy winner. His family's house being 2 miles from Hard Rock Stadium's absolutely crazy. What a story. The screenwriters knew what they were doing when they wrote this script. An unbelievable performance, an absolute complete team victory for the Hoosiers. The big key play coming in the second quarter with the blocked punt for a touchdown. Absolute back-breaking play for Miami. Mendoza, no passing touchdowns on over the course of the game, but he did have that huge rushing touchdown where he leaped into the end zone. 16 of 27 passing for 186 yards. Black and Hemby were very excellent in terms of coming out of the backfield, combined for 36 carries, 139 yards. And then on the outside, Omar Cooper made some absolutely clutch plays. And then Charlie Becker has had an absolutely stellar second half of the season. They combined for 9 receptions and 136 yards. And then Jamari Sharp, game-sealing interception on Carson Beck. Miami was driving near the end of that game and had a chance to win it. Carson Beck, we'll get to Miami shortly, but he gave it his all on the field. I wasn't a huge fan of the body language. I think he just seemed dejected, and I think he just didn't really show a lot of poise. And compared to Mendoza on the other side of the field with the bloody lip, as you guys can see from the thumbnail, bloody lip, gave it his all. His arm was all bloody at the end in the post-game interview, and he gave it his heart. He's got a heart of a lion. I did want to give a big shout out to, on the other side of the ball for the Hurricanes, Mark Fletcher. His mom was going absolutely crazy when they were showing in the stands. 17 carries, 112 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If the Canes won, he would have been definitely the MVP of the game because he was absolutely carrying that squad, especially in the first half when really there was nothing going for Miami offensively. And Indiana kind of took a while to pick things up on that side of the ball, but Indiana's defense was absolutely stellar. They held Miami to the least amount of yards in college football playoff history in a half. So the 10-0 score at half, I didn't think it would be like that all game just because I knew Miami had to pick it up, but the 27-21 really just showed how stellar of a game it was. And I really do think it's been probably the best college football playoff national championship game, I would say, since those Alabama-Clemson days. For the past 7 or 8 years, this was the best one because we've seen a lot of blowouts. Malachi Toney, 10 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Kind of one of my favorite picks for a dark horse Heisman candidate this upcoming season. He is going to be the man in Miami next season. Obviously, we will have to see what happens with some more transfers in the spring window and how it kind of shakes out for Mario Cristobal and the crew. Akeem Mesdor and Ruben Bain were unbelievable. They were laying the smackdown on Mendoza. There was one that was a bit questionable if it was targeting or not in the first half. Mendoza took an absolute shot. Ruben Bain, 8 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss and a sack. And then Akeem Mesdor, 3 tackles and 2 sacks. They were absolutely dominant. And it really just showed the Hurricanes' defense and the run game was keeping them in the game. But Carson Beck, I think it's all mental for him because he has the physical tools to be a good quarterback in the NFL. But I just think he's not going to get drafted as high as he should just because I think his mental makeup and the body language that he possesses, it could lead him into some trouble as he goes into the NFL. I did want to talk about Miami before we got to Indiana and their magical season. Miami finishes the year 13-3. Under Mario Cristobal, they've gotten better every single season. When he took over in 2022, they were 5-7, just missed a bowl game, 3-5 in the conference. The very next season in 2023, they do make a bowl game, but they do lose in the Pinstripe Bowl, 3-5 as well in the conference with a 7-6 overall record. And then 2024 was really a breaking out party for Cristobal, Cam Ward, and the crew. 10-0 start to the season. Everybody thought, oh, this squad's got it. The U's back, all that good stuff. Then they lost 3 straight to end the season, and it kind of left a lot of Hurricanes fans with some sour taste in their mouth. 10-3, 6-2 in the conference, and they did lose the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And this season, I mean, I talked about it in my preview. The roller coaster of a season that Miami had was some very high highs, mostly in the college football playoff. They caught fire at the right time, but some very, very bad lows. That SMU game, especially the Louisville. Carson Beck threw some interceptions, but they caught fire at the right time. And I got to give a huge shout out to Cristobal, bringing back those guys that built the foundation. You got Ray Lewis, you got Michael Irvin, you got guys on the sideline supporting these players, Tony, Bain, Mesidor, Beck, Fletcher, all these guys. So a huge shout out to Cristobal, and they're the front runner right now in the ACC. Until Clemson starts to get their shit together, Miami is the premier team in the ACC. Obviously, there's going to be some other teams fighting for it. You got your Louisville, you got your SMU, you got Duke. You got North Carolina potentially with Bill Belichick in year 2, maybe stacking things together and creating a magical season. But ACC right now is run through Coral Gables and Miami. So a big shout out to all of them. And Cristobal, he was able to take in 2 straight transfer quarterbacks and really change the course of their careers. Cam Ward goes from a relative unknown coming out of Incarnate Word and then to Wazoo. Played really well for the Cougars and then played absolutely stellar for the Hurricanes. We'll have to see what happens with his NFL career with the Titans heading into year 2. And then Carson Beck, going from a potential number 1 overall pick with Georgia to that elbow injury to now kind of rebuilding his whole career. Had some lows, obviously, with those interception games, but I think he's off way better now than when he came into the University of Miami. So a big shout out to that coaching staff and the whole culture that Miami is rebuilding and trying to re-energize heading into the rest of the decade. So I can't wait to see what Miami does and what Malachi Tony has in store for the college football fans next season. We got to talk about it. Indiana's magical season. Now, obviously this could be fully recency bias, but this is a season of dominance that we've never seen before. 16-0 for the first time ever. And there has been some undefeated seasons that have the argument to stack up with it. I think the Michigan squad of 2023 had the trenches, the dominance that the men on the defensive side, the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen had. Mason Graham, you got Zach Zenter, you got Blake Corum running the ball. You got all these studs. Colston Loveland and the crew. But J.J. McCarthy is no comparison to Mendoza as a quarterback. Straight up. So that knocks that one out of the way. And then, I mean, we can get into it right now. Before we talk about Indiana's magical season, I was going to go into that, but I'm going to save that for the end. The college football playoff era, undefeated college football teams ranked. Here we go. We got Indiana, number 1. 16-0 season, Mendoza winning the Heisman, coming out of nowhere. Going from the losingest program in college football history coming into the season to beating 7 top 25 teams. It's crazy. They had more top 25 teams this year than they did combined in their whole history. So, I mean, with that sentence alone, this is the best coaching job in the history of sports, in my opinion. Kurt Cignetti is an absolute legend, and he is the face of college football now. But we got at number 2, 2019 LSU. Joe Burrow, a bunch of draft picks. I mean, it's the best team pre-COVID, right before COVID. Just Joe Burrow leading the squad. The complete aura that he had was insane. Number 3, Georgia, 2022. A dominant run that they had, the peak of Georgia football coming off that national title. Obviously, they run back-to-back in that era. Michigan at number 4, 2023, dominant squad. A really magical run for Michigan fans that had just been in the shadow of Ohio State forever, it seemed like. And then 5 and 6, you can kind of flip-flop between the 2020 Alabama squad. They went 13-0, Mac Jones, Devontae Smith. And then 2018 Clemson, 15-0. I have Clemson at 5 and then Alabama at 6. It's not the same game. I think, obviously with the NIL now, with the transfer portal being bigger than ever, almost a third of every single player in D1 being in the portal is absolutely crazy. So it's just a different game and more of a testament to Indiana coming in at my number 1 ranking for undefeated teams in the college football playoff era. Let's get into this magical season. Week by week, coming into the season, Indiana was preseason 20th, I believe, and they're the only team to be ranked that low in the top 25 to then go on and win the title. So weeks 1 through 3 relatively easy wins, although the first play of the season for Indiana was a 75-yard touchdown by Old Dominion. So that's pretty funny how they gave up a huge explosive play to the Monarchs and then were able to string together all of these games. The next week, we should have known, guys. We should have known when they went to Bloomington. They got ready for the day and absolutely murdered a number 9 Illinois Fighting Illini squad, 63-10. We should have known. I mean, we should have known with Signetti. We didn't know a lot about Mendoza at this point in the season, but there was warning signs early. Week 5, a 20-15 victory at Iowa. Kinnick Stadium's a tough place to play, as a lot of Big Ten teams know. Indiana survived. I mean, there was some struggles for Indiana. Definitely early on in the season, there were some close games that could have gone either way, and it just shows the heart of the squad that they had. Surratt, Cooper, Becker, Mendoza, Hemby. These guys made plays in the defensive side of the ball. It's just a complete team effort. Radicic, perfect on the season. Field goals, extra points, automatic. Every single factor, offense, defense, special teams, Signetti just controlled all of it like a chess master. And you see it every week. Bye week, going into week 7 at Autzen Stadium in Eugene. This was a huge matchup. Everybody had Oregon except Pat McAfee on College Game Day. Shout out to Pat McAfee. Indiana wins this 30-20, but it really wasn't that close. They absolutely dominated the Oregon Ducks and Dante Moore. Week 8 through 10, they had wins over Michigan State, UCLA, and Maryland. Pretty much just dominating on the bottom feeders of the Big Ten. And then now is where we get into the stretch run, where Indiana put their big boy pants on and made one of the best runs in college football history. Week 11, a 27-24 victory at Happy Valley, playing against Penn State. Yeah, it hasn't been Penn State's season, but that is still one of the toughest environments, and Penn State had nothing to lose. Mendoza comes down the clutch, final drive, touchdown, one of the best catches of all time. Weeks 12 through 14, we got wins over Wisconsin and Purdue with a bye week thrown in there. And then we got wins over Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. We should have known from then on, all right, this team's winning it all, because Ohio State, they got the talent. They got the best player in the country, Jeremiah Smith. They got all these guys. They got Julian Sand, probably going to be a first-round pick in the 2027 draft. And they were able to beat him in the Big Ten Championship. Alabama, number 9. Probably shouldn't have beat Oklahoma in that first round, if we're being honest. Didn't really have much other than Ty Simpson. Then they have a victory over Oregon. Again, it's really hard to beat a team twice in the same season. They were able to do it by a wide margin. Signetti. And then against a number 10 ranked or seeded Miami team that was on fire. And going into the game, I was very confident in Indiana, but it's at Hard Rock Stadium. All the pressure's on Indiana. You guys are the underdog, essentially just because of the pedigree. Miami has 5 national championships, and before yesterday, Indiana had 0. So you guys are kind of historically, technically an underdog, but everybody and their mom had Indiana winning this game, and Miami kept it close. Fletcher was on an absolute heater. He was looking like prime LeGarrette Blount. But Mendoza, it really just comes down to Signetti and Mendoza. You got the coach, you got the quarterback, all the rest can be taken care of. The talent discrepancy, the size discrepancy did not matter because Indiana, at the end of the day, put together one of the greatest runs in college football history. And college football, as of right now, is better than it's ever been, in my opinion. Parity is there. We got the Big Ten ending officially the SEC streak as the most dominant conference in college football. 3 straight titles, Big Ten. We got Michigan, Ohio State, and Indiana. College football's never been better. We got the Big 12 being feisty. We got Texas Tech having a phenomenal season. BYU, Kalani Sitake winning a bowl game. We got the SEC blowing all these bowls left and right. We got the ACC with Miami coming out of nowhere. We got Notre Dame bitching and moaning that they didn't make the playoff when Miami was valid in making it. And game day, what the hell was that, having Marcus Freeman on there? Are you fucking kidding me? This guy quit on a bowl game, an opportunity to get his players 50-plus practices, and all his captains wanted to quit and not be in the bowl game. That's a sorry move from the Fighting Irish. So that's not playing like a champion today. So I did not want to see Marcus Freeman on that broadcast. Shout out to Lee Corso. He was the Indiana coach 52 years ago. Absolute legend. A big shout out to him. We'll have an end of season recap coming soon, but I just had to get these Indiana thoughts off my mind. We made it to over 800 subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing, and we're gonna have more content coming. It is the end of the college football season, but the grind never stops here on the Rombough Show. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with more content.